No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
A 10 hut. About face. Present arms. Now serve.
You like that?
Hi. Hope y'all liked a little bit. Today is gonna be a makeup tutorial. Oh my god! And the focus is gonna be about face because I really like their products. So, it's gonna be a whole face of about face. The only things not from their catalog are gonna be eyebrows. Oh, and all the all the powder products. So I'm gonna just do a tutorial of like kind of my everyday full glam with a focus of about face, because that truly is like the one brand that I have almost everything of. But with the brand being very like skin focused, and I would say more so dewy for like base products, the two like powder products would be, which one of them I'm going to use is the loose powder, which is like at the end, and I also have their Cheek Freak, which I really like, but I don't use it in my everyday glam. I would use this for like a no makeup look, because it's a cream, then you blend it out, it turns to powder. It's a very like sun-kissed kind of flushed look. So I like doing this when I'm not using any foundation. I just put this on and some mascara. But almost everything that I use from About Face, I love. Other than being a really big fan of the brand prior to their little reach out, I do want to showcase the brand because not sponsored, but if I could work my way up into the PR list, let me know. But I did a TikTok using the products that I had already owned, and their marketing or like social media team reached out for the usage of that video, and I was compensated with being able to test out more product from their catalog. So if this is not your sign to make silly little videos, do it, because you don't know who's watching. And this is very much coming from someone who I think currently have 40 TikTok followers, which if you're any one of them, love you. But yeah, you don't even really need a following. Coming from someone who has no following as of right now. Yeah, you never know who's watching, and you might be like, oh, it's cringe. But then something happens from it, so. Yeah, as always, I'm gonna pin my bangs back with stars, but I'm gonna do like my face prep, which is all my skincare, which in and of itself is a routine, but not the focus of the video. But if y'all want to focus on the video, let me know, because skincare is also a big thing to me. But I'll be back in a bit. Did my skin prep, turn on a light, and everybody in the house is now in the house. So there might be background noise. Everybody was outside the house, now they're inside. So, but yes, so the base is gonna be all about face. I'll show you the products that I'm using, and I'll show the order into. What you're gonna realize is that I do my makeup backwards. I don't know if there's a truly correct way, but this is what has worked for me. I saw a TikTok about underpainting, and then I never looked back. So that's what the vibe is. If I'm doing something and you're like, the hell? I think that's a fair reaction, but just know it all comes together. I'm gonna check back the audio right now because there's a lot of noise. Okay, it seems like the microphone is actually goated. My dad's in the living room watching YouTube videos, and there's like this insane transition sounds where it's like boom. I could just hear a white guy. He's talking about Joffrey, which I think is Game of Thrones. And it's just like normal audio, normal talking, then boom. But back to the tutorial. Everything is gonna be backwards. That's just how it's worked for me. I think growing up with acne, because when I first did my makeup, ooh, honestly don't mind that Snapchat is wiping its database and its history, but that was our history. 2016. It was Anastasia Dip Brow, and then like the Maybelline Fit Me, the one that's like in the rectangle, the blue formula, which I think was just like matte. That was when I was doing makeup. Like I wore makeup too. What is it when you graduate middle school? Because it's not really a graduation. Culmination. Did my makeup for the culmination. So I had a bunch of acne, so I just put a fucking full coverage foundation on top. No contour, no blush. Because blush always felt so redundant to me. Is that the right word? Because I had acne and I was like, why? I'm trying to cover the redness. Why would I put more redness on? But blush is actually like one of my favorite things in makeup now. It's the one type of product that I have the most products of. So this might be very different to either what you do or other makeup tutorials. So let's get started. Other than skin prep, I did put Maybelline's Super Lock in my eyebrows because it just holds down the hair and I'm able to shape them. Another thing that was quite pinnacle to the time and the history when I did my dip brows was my eyebrows were so thick and I very much thinned them out. But I think it suits my face more now. I've heard all the warnings of millennials and everyone else who's like, if you tweeze your eyebrows too much, they're not gonna grow back. Trust and believe. During my skin prep too, I tweeze my eyebrows. When I wash my face at night and do my skincare at night, it's already growing back. Thanks for the warning, but my hair doesn't fall victim to not growing back. Which I guess is good because if I ever want to have fuller eyebrows, I have that option. I just need to not tweeze for like 2 days. But okay, let's get started. First step, highlighter. This is the reflective liquid highlight fluid in Roses in the Wall. Super pretty, also very fine to wear, like if you do a no makeup day. It is a highlighter with no glitter. How they do it, I don't know. But this is what I start off with, because once it like dries down, it stays where it's placed. It comes with a doe foot applicator. Ooh. And then I just put this where you put highlight. So that's gonna be in the high points. Oh, it's kind of thin. Try to scoop that up. Okay, other cheek, nose, underneath the eyebrow. I wish I had a product like this that was similar in terms of like a powder highlighter, because I really like the pink of this. It just gives a really nice like glow from within type vibe, and it's not glittery, so it's not like there's no like chunks. It's just really pretty. If you could tell, it looks glittery. I think another thing with having like growing up with acne or having to deal with acne, highlighter was another thing that I just skipped out on. I skipped out on everything when I did my makeup. One, because I was like 12 and I didn't have the money to buy like a whole face for a full beat. Just everything felt so like, huh? So I didn't want to put on blush because I was like, I already have acne. Why would I put pink back on my face? I didn't do contour because I was a child and I had like no definition in my face. So I wasn't look maxing. Highlighter was just weird to me too because I was like, if I put highlighter on, you're going to tell that I have acne underneath. Basically, when I did my makeup as a child, like in middle school, I just gave myself the landlord special. I would just like spackle on full coverage foundation. And I was like, this looks great. Full coverage foundation, big, blocky, Anastasia dip brow eyebrows. And that was the look. Like when I look back on it, I'm like, no one told me shit. And they should have. It was very clear that they should have. But yes, that's the highlighter fluid. When I get closer, you can tell like the pink. It's just like really pretty. It just makes your face look glowy. Now, once that kind of like sets and dries down, it won't move. So what I go in next is concealer. I don't always do this. I don't think concealer is meant for me. More so for the fact that and this is not just for this concealer, but like any concealer, I feel like concealer is usually meant to conceal your under eyes for some reason, and it doesn't matter like how good the formula is or not, other than creasing being one thing. I've never liked the way I looked when I conceal my under eyes, and this is no shade to the formula, no shade to anything. Like any concealer I've ever used, it just like I feel like my dark circles are like part of me, and my dark circles aren't even that bad, but when I do cover them, I'm like, it gives me very much uncanny valley feelings for myself because I know that that's not how I look. So I don't think I'm the best judge when it comes to concealer just because I don't use it the way God intended. But I do like this one. This is the Illusionist Skin Focus Concealer by About Face. This is in L2. Very much lighter than my skin tone, but just meant to highlight some areas. Use a very little amount, not even really use it to its full ability. I really like the formula. It's much thicker than their foundation. This is concealer, very buildable, but I don't think I'm gonna properly demonstrate its abilities just because the way I use concealer is very weird. But I'll show you what I do. I put it in the outer corner of my eye just because I have like a little bit of redness by my outer tear duct. Is that a tear duct? the outer part of my eye. I kind of carve out my eyebrows. Currently, other than the eyebrow glue, my eyebrows don't have any other product. So it's not too much of a carved out just because I have nothing to carve out yet because there's no product. But just to like have a little line underneath. I put it at the bottom of my nose because I just get reddish around there sometimes too. On the side of my nose. And then bring it down to right before there's creases in my under eye, but just the smallest amount of product. Also, I don't really know what else to talk about other than the products, like just the down space. So there's just gonna be some rambling too, if y'all are okay with that. But yeah. And then maybe if I still have like some product on my hand, I'll put some on my chin, Cupid's bow, like anywhere else that I highlight. Oh, I didn't put highlighter there, but I usually put highlighter on my Cupid's bow as well. On the bridge of my nose, I do contour my nose a little bit, but yeah. I can't really fake a button nose illusion on my nose, but I do love my nose because I don't need to. I never had an issue with glasses slipping on my face because built-in glasses holder. That's all where I put the concealer on. I have some spots right now, but this is like a very light color, so I don't have another one of these that's like closer to my skin tone to like do like spot concealing, but that's usually not like a big concern of mine. The foundation is good in itself, but we'll get to that soon. And then I just blend this out. I use this like flat brush to place the product, and then with just like a dense rounded brush, I kind of just go in. I do take a minute to like place the concealer. It gives the product a chance to kind of like dry down so that it adds to the coverage. Again, coverage isn't so much what I'm looking for, it's just like playing with those lights and shadows. Sometimes around the eyebrow can be a little tricky because if I have too much excess eyebrow glue, it could tend to like flake. But I try to counteract that by just like cleaning up the area after I put the eyebrow glue in with like a wet Q-tip. But yeah, so this is what the skin looks like after the highlighter and concealer. But now, moving on to some of my favorite parts, I'm going to go in with the bronzer Beach Freak contour sticks. This is in Beach Goth and Coney Island. Coney Island was the first one I got purchased with my own money. I got this during the summer, but as the winter months came in, I switched to and was able to get my hands on Beach Goth through the generosity of About Face, and now I just kind of mix them. This is very much like my summer shade, and then this is just like my winter shade, but to add more depth. Use both of them. I go in with Beach Goth first, in the same place where you put your contour bronzer. Actually, I don't use contour, so I don't put it where I would put contour. I kind of naturally have this pocket, so right above that, kind of on my cheekbone, is where I'm gonna place product. And again, I'm layering this near and on top of the highlighter, and it's already set, so it's not gonna move. But on my cheeks, by my forehead, and then with this shade alone on the sides of my nose, I'm just placing that above where I put my concealer previously. So I kind of re-carve the area with concealer, and then I go in with contour. And now in Coney Island, which is the darker shade, I'm gonna just place that on top of it, but like in the outer corner where I placed the previous bronzer. This side I'm placing it closer to the hairline, and then I don't put this on my nose, but I put this on the outer corner of my eye. And now we blend. I'm just using a dense kind of angled brush. All the brushes I've been using, by the way, are from Amazon. They're the BS Mall ones. I think it's a 16 count. Got them from my birthday, but they get the job done. I don't think I've ever owned name brand makeup brushes, just because I feel like at the end of the day, they're kind of all the same. I think I could tell the bristles moving around in this one a lot, just because like the barrel is probably not as sturdy or as well curated. If it gets the job done, it gets the job done. So I'm not complaining. I take, which is also part of the BS Mall collection. It's just like this tapered full one, and I just use that to blend the outer corner of my eye. And this is kind of all I do for like an eyeshadow look. I just kind of deepen the look of my eye socket, and that's kind of all. I have big eyes, and I think a decent amount of real estate on my eyes. It's just hooded. And then this is an Eco Tools one that I took from my mom like a long time ago, but I just use this for my nose. And again, I don't really like try to do too much of an illusion on my nose just because my nose is very structured. So I just kind of do it on the sides, and then for more blending, I do kind of blend it down to where I placed the concealer before. The concealer still has its brightness, but it's not like that stark line to line between the highlight that I did with the concealer and then the contour. But that's that. Blush time. This is the only thing in terms of like, if I put this in like baking terminology, this would be like the wets and all the powders would be the dry. Yeah, so I think this is the only one that's gonna like infiltrate the about face part, but just because it gives like a hint of color, because this is very concentrated, but I love this color. Usually in my everyday makeup, I mix both of these because they're kind of in the same color family. This one is not as pigmented as this, but I kind of go in with this first to give it like an overall hint of color, and then bow with this. So this is, I want to say Makeup Revolution, but is Makeup Revolution its own thing? Or did they just drop the makeup to be Revolution? I don't know. This is their Super Dewy Blush Burst in the shade. I think it's like caramel something. It's like very much like a muted mauve, kind of like the blushes I like are very much like a bronzer, which is like a blushy bronze. So I just kind of put this down first. Like it just kind of gives like a touch color. This is another BS small brush, but it's like flat top. It shows up very much more on camera, I feel like, because in person, I think it just sets up the base. But I'm gonna put that all over into the eyes as well. Tip of the nose, maybe the chin a little bit. But the real star of the show is the Cheek Blush Rush by About Face. Once again, this is in the color, oh, it's Pigmented Fluid Blush Rush in the color Grand Prix. And this is everything to me. Much more bronzy, leaning like terracotta brown. And you just need a lot of this, truly. And where I kind of took that initial shade all over, I'm going to concentrate this like on the high point of my cheek. And they are pigmented, they do not lie about that part, but it's so good. Like, you don't need much. And it dries very dewy. About Face is very skin focused. Everything is just, if you're not a fan of a wet look, but they're very easy to powder down. It's just within About Face's catalog, as of right now, there's not too many powdered products. It's very easy for like a dewy glowy finish, which I like. I do powder down just to like give the products more of a longevity, but with setting spray, and then I use this CoverGirl Prime and Refresh. I've never used it to prime. I don't know how to do it as a primer, but the refresh part, very much that, to kind of break down the powder that I put on and have it like a satin finish. But we'll get to the powders in a bit. The last thing that I'm going to be using from About Face is the Performer, which is their skin focused foundation. Also have two of these products. So this was my summer shade, this is my winter shade. Super extensive range. There's 5 finishes, I believe, for each step in skin range that they have for the Performer, because it goes not in order, but I think they have a cool tone, a peachy tone, neutral, olive, and a warm tone. So very customizable and very easy to get a true match. I think also true matches, or like getting a good shade match, also comes from the product being flexible, if that's a good enough word. Of all, well, I only have one other foundation, but I mean, this one's called a foundation, but I would attribute it to like a skin tint. I think skin tints are easier to get a true matches because they're flexible and like able to blend out. So a lot of options to get your true shade match, and also just like easy to work with. My summer shade, which even when it was summer is a little bit darker because I had picked the olive shade, or this is LM2 olive. So yeah, it's able to work with it because it's not full coverage in it. It's just easy to blend out. The one I use for winter is LM1 neutral, sorry. And neutral is kind of always my go-to. I just wanted to see the olive. But I will say, I think they have changed the doe foot applicator, because this one I had gotten at Ulta a while back, and this one I had purchased from their storefront, which they're always running deals, so that's also a plus too. But I remember I like this one, but other than it being slightly a little dark, I also didn't reach for it because the doe foot applicator would get like stuck and I'd have to pull it, and then it would kind of like spray product everywhere. So again, I've had this for a while, but I've actually lost the doe foot applicator inside the product because it got stuck. If memory serves me right, I think this is my new one. They have changed the doe foot applicator because it's much easier to twist out and it's not as big as I remember, which is a plus for me. I would always try to be like slow in the same way I opened that one, like try to twist it out. And I did that, and then the applicator just fell out. But that was a while back. That product is, I don't know how old it is now. But with the Performer, the same way with the concealer, just take a little bit on the back of my hand, and then I'm gonna kind of warm it up with my finger. And then with my finger, I'm just gonna place the product where it's needed, and where I place it is basically where there currently is no product on my face. So this is what I meant about like the underpainting. Like, I think typically it's like foundation and then everything on top of it. For me, it's fill in the puzzle. So instead of layering, it's kind of just like one layer. In essence, same BS. Brushes, slightly angled, domed. So another thing I would have done, kind of forgot, but is while I'm doing this, I'll do it while I do the powder section. The second half of this is I usually like to have a lip tint on, like while I'm doing my makeup, just so that it really hints and has its time to sit on my lips. Using another kind of domed brush just to get into like the nitty-gritty of my face. Other than the Revolution blush, this is the About Face section. Absolutely love their products. So grateful and been a thought for their creative team. Having reached out, was a fan of their products before, am even more of a fan now. But yeah, their catalog is pretty extensive, but I am excited to see if they're looking to formulate like powdered versions of some stars they already have. But now we will go on to the powdered section, the dry section of this tutorial. These brushes that I'm going to use, don't know where they're originally from either. This one is a BS one. There's some Eco Tools. Don't have the specifics on that, but use what you got. To lock in the base and the wet part of this, going in with the Milani Make It Last. And while that's drying down, the NYX IV. This is a really pretty product in itself to wear as a gloss, but primarily as a lip stain. So I just kind of line my lips first. I will say though, maybe it's just my lips, but this product tends to bleed, and you'll probably see it as it sits on my lips, but sometimes it could like bleed outside my lip line. So I try not to have too much product on the wand and as I'm applying it, just so there's a less likelihood of that happening, but it's not the worst. It doesn't like, it'll kind of bleed outside of the lip line, but it won't stain. So that's not the biggest problem. So I line my lips with it and then just fill it in, and that's that. So with the setting spray now set and dry, move on to the powders. So the first thing I do is I set my nose area just because I wear glasses. So that's usually the first part of my makeup to kind of break up, not horribly, but with their like being constant friction does. So to bake my nose specifically, I do use the e.l.f. HD powder. Just using it up until it's done. I know e.l.f. picked an interesting person for their marketing campaign, which I have no idea why. Don't really know the correlation. So just kind of get, and I'm using the e.l.f. powder puff too, which is on its last legs. Once this is all done, we're moving out of here. But I used to use this all over my face, but this is a very, if you like your makeup to be matte, this is the product. Again, I kind of like a satin finish, so it's not my favorite to use all over the face, but specifically for my nose where I am trying to dry out the area just so that there's less chance of makeup being like eaten away, it's good for that. So I kind of load up, I shake it a little bit so that it gets up here, load up the puff with it, take the excess off, and go on the sides of my nose. Fancy. Oh, ambulance. All the neighborhood dogs are gonna pitch in and help if you can hear that. But if you can't, Apple earphone microphone goes crazy low key. All right, so other than the nose, I get underneath the nose, above the lip, and then if I'm feeling crazy, just like on the chin. I use my eyes too. Actually, and I kind of bake my eyelids because having hooded eyelids, I tend to get a crease in the middle if I don't bake it and like leave the product kind of wet looking. So bake that area too. And by bake, like you can tell that there's residual powder on, but not like anything crazy. And that's it. Maybe a little bit under the but not where I have the creases. But that's it for the baking aspect of it, and that's it with e.l.f. Now I'm going into the blushes, and like I said, when I was younger, didn't understand blush. I was like, hey, if I wanted red on my face, I just would leave my acne out. I'm gonna start with bronzer. I use the NYX Buttermelt Bronzer in Deserve Butter, and I just use a random brush, dense, kind of at an angle. I tap a little bit and I work it into the bristle on the top of the lid, and then just take it where the cream bronzer was placed. A little bit in the hairline, and then a little bit in the outer corner of my eyes. I'm gonna start wiping off the bake a little bit, just make sure there's not too much left. Maybe take it underneath the chin. But that's all for bronzer. Blush. I use 3 on like a full glam day. That's gonna be the first one. In the same way I use the Revolution blush, which is kind of place color first. That's gonna be this one. It's the Wet n Wild Color Icon blush in Mellow Wine. I use a little more fluffier angled brush. This is an Eco Tool one, an older brush for sure. And I just kind of get some product on, and usually whichever side I start on always looks more heavy-handed because there's just more product on the brush, and that tends to be my right side. So I'm just trying to make it even as possible, but putting that color kind of all over into the outer corner of my eye, on the nose, on the chin, maybe by the hairline too. So that's kind of the all over color. Cinema blush. That's that part. Now we move on to, again, my favorite bronzy kind of blush. And absolutely love the shade. It's by Rem Beauty. It's in Stars in the Sand. Cute name too. On the same brush. Tap it a little bit, and then just focus this on like underneath the eye. Yes. Just being careful because I could very much get heavy-handed with this. And sometimes I just leave it as is, but when I'm feeling a little crazy, taking a fluffy, angled, but smaller brush, I go in with the NYX Buttermelt blush in Back and Butter, and this is just stays on the tops of my cheeks. This blush is easy because it's not that pigmented, so sometimes I do like blush that's not that pigmented because it's just easy to lay down color and blend it out. This one, I really like the color. It's a bit more pigmented, still easy to blend out. This one, maybe it's the brush, because by proxy I feel like it would be the same formula as the bronzer because it's a buttermilk, but this one I just have to be careful of because I know since they are like that butter formula, I don't know the science behind it, but I think they tend to have more like oil in them, or like that kind of like emulsify. They got something in them that makes it like soft, and if I try to use like a bigger brush and like try to work it in, it ends up kind of eating away at the product underneath. I've never experienced that with the bronzer, but for this one, she's a little finicky. Same technique, I guess, with the bronzer. Vary a little bit, work it into the brush, and just placing it, bouncing it, but not moving it. Because if I did move it, then it would kind of eat away very little, and we're gonna stop. I know I'm gonna call it quits with that product. I love the color, but she's just a little finicky, that's all. And then to really tie in everything together, going in with the About Face curtain call. This is in Bow, which I think is labeled as their fair powder. I would say this is as close to translucent though. I have this is Draped. I think it goes Bow, Veil, Draped. So this is the third one. This one I would use with my summer shade. This one definitely has color in it. This one also has a slight kind of neutral skin tone finish, but I basically use that as a translucent powder, and it doesn't really have any pigment payoff in the way that Draped has. So has a little mesh, and I just kind of swirl a fluffy tapered brush. And everywhere that didn't get powdered, I'm taking it and powdering the areas, and then with the remainder kind of just go over everything, make sure everything kind of just marries each other. And yeah, if I do feel like I went heavy-handed, I use a fluffy brush with no product and just kind of blend out everything. And yeah, so this is the dry. Like I was saying before, I use this CoverGirl Prime and Refresh spray. This one I've had for a while and I lost the cap, so the nozzle sometimes gets like clogged, and if I spray this directly, if it's having one of its bad days where it's really clogged and I spray it directly, if like a big drop of the product lands on my face, it'll end up eating away at the product. So everything you just have to do kind of mindfully. So I just spray this in the air. You'll see what I mean. So, and yeah, again, I like a more satin look, so if you like a matte look, you could skip that part, but I get to just kind of look a little bit more lived in. And I kind of naturally like that look too. Like I like a little bit more like a lived in look. I think I tend to get ready a while before an event just so like the natural oils kind of seep through, but that's my preference. The only things left are eyebrows and eyes, so let's get to that. For eyebrows, I stayed away from her for a long time because of the history we had in middle school for sure, going into high school. But I do have a dip brow, but trust, I've learned from those years before, so I'm not as heavy-handed. So I use Ebony. Trust, I've been resolved with my heavy-handed. This is actually the first like big girl makeup purchase I had got was the Anastasia in chocolate, and then this sorry, didn't mean to flip you off. This exact eyebrow brush. She's been with me for quite some time, and she's back with her best friend. So a little bit. I used to like do the whole thing of like working it into the cap. It would get so dirty though, so I just kind of keep a napkin on, and then if I need to make a line, just clean both sides. And I start in the beginning with my eyebrow, and then just make a line like that, and I just follow through with the rest. Bring my mirror a little closer. Take a little bit of product, shape the tail of it, and then with a somewhat bare brush, just go through it in the front. And that's all I do. That's all I do. Trust. Doing the same for the other side. Hi. Let me just bring this up here. I actually switched out the chair. I usually use another one, both of which are dining room chairs. I should get another one. I want to get those ergonomic ones that you could sit crisscross applesauce, because that's how I end up sitting in every chair anyways. So that's all with the dip brow. And now I'm going to go in with the powder to outline the shape of my eyeliner. My eyes are not symmetrical. Hey, I'm going to point out, before any of you could beat me to the punchline, my face is very asymmetrical. I've been knew that since forever. But specifically my eyes, other than like me having a weaker eye, you'll see what I'm talking about. This eye is at a whole other angle than this one. I don't know what the fuck happened. I mean, hey, I've got both eyes. I've got sight. But God couldn't have given me like a little bit more asymmetry. Sorry, not more asymmetry, more symmetry. Symmetrical. But yeah, I've always been aware that my eyes are different. I've definitely grown more confident in how I look. Did I gain more confidence, or am I just not 13 years old anymore and like nitpicking everything? But I definitely have gained more confidence, but I am still very aware of the asymmetry in my face, like the inverted filter on TikTok. Like, why does half of my face look like it's melting? So eyeliner is always a struggle because first off, getting it symmetrical in itself is difficult, but trying to get it symmetrical on two planes that are different angles is a whole other thing. So I go in with a random, guys, I don't even know if this brand exists anymore. It says Personi. I found this when I was a child in my mom's makeup. How long has she had it? I don't know. It says 99 cents, I think. It's like a sticker from like CVS or something. There's no information on the back. And I use this one now because there was another eyeshadow palette that she had years ago that I used up. But it's still a bunch of products. So, I mean, it is older. I am using it around my eyes, but hey, nothing has happened yet. So, so anyways, what I'm trying to say is that I sketch out my eyeliner with powder first before I do anything like more committed with an actual eyeliner, or I don't use actual eyeliner. You're gonna find out later. Hey, this is a no judgment zone, all right? This is my world. Don't bully me. But yeah. So sketching out with eyeshadow first. I kind of actually, there's like a line I have by my eye. I don't know if you could tell. It's like this line. So I kind of follow that. And I always like that one. But then it's this side that I don't know about. Nope. Let's do it. This is the only part that kind of gets me, is because it's already powder there. I kind of just erase it with the bronzer. I have any remaining bronzer that I have on that brush that I used previously. I just kind of try to erase. This side always looks higher. You could barely see that, but I'm just trying to get the angle somewhat decent. And then I don't really make the wing too big. It's a whole other battle. Something like that. And try to match it on this side. Powder done. So why I was acting weird earlier when I said eyeliner, I need a pencil thin liner that has structure. Felt tip eyeliners tend to have a little bit more structure because the felt is a little bit stronger, but they bend really easily and they dry out really quickly. I like a brush tip eyeliner, but those are kind of hard to come by. I know there's one on TikTok shop. It's by like Judy Doll or something, but I found an alternative, and the alternative I am referencing is 3 brushes that I got from Dollar Tree and in a $5.43 water activated face paint palette that I picked up from Walmart this past Halloween. I picked it up because I was doing a clown look, which I ate, by the way, and I did my eyeliner with these brushes, and I was like, wait, this is everything. So I still use it. I mix the black and the brown, and it works. So to activate it and to make it seem somewhat a little bit more classy, I use eye drops in this little divot. I put a drop. I go in first with this triangular brush, Fresh Wet, mix my desired shade, which is just like 1 part brown, 4 parts black. And if the brush is a little too wet, I just dab it on paper towel and then I go in. And it works. So I ain't gonna fix what ain't broke. And it's not bad because these people have it by their eyes. The only ones you can't use by your eyes are green, purple, or red. And I use those, so it's fine. So I get that placed down, and then if there's any slip ups, I just kind of clean it up with my fingernail. And then I get the really detailed brush and do the same process, and then I just get on the tail of it, and it's good. So I've never gotten the question, but if anybody asks what eyeliner I use, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I use Halloween face paint that I got at Walmart, and just to tie everything together, I do like to take, if there's remaining wet paint still available, I use it to accentuate the tail of my eyebrow, because I had gotten ebony when I had dark brown hair. I've always been a brunette, but I dyed it a dark brunette. But for Halloween and like since winter, I've been dyeing it black. And I should probably get, I think I would like the next shade, which I don't know if it's charcoal or like onyx or just black in the dip brow, but there's so much product in the dip brow. Like even the one I had in like middle school, I never got to the bottom of it because there's just so much product. I'm not gonna buy a whole other product just for the shade. So I like to use some of the black face paint just to deepen the color of my eyebrows, and it makes them look real. So hey, it works. And then just to seal it in, I take back the powder that I was using earlier and the paint that I put in my eyebrows, a little bit at the end, wing, and finally, I'm gonna cover this up real quick, hold on. Oh, another thing I like to do, well, I could do it right now actually, is mixing more brown this time though. I like to trace over the birthmarks I have that get covered up with the makeup using that first brush that I did, triangle one. I just go over some birthmarks that I know I have. There's one at the end of my nose, one on my cheek right here. This one I like making into a little heart. One underneath my eye. Any birthmarks I have are like hyperpigmentation that I just make look like a birthmark. There's 2 by my eye. They're hard to find though, so I just kind of like guesstimate. This is the smallest hyperpigmentation, but I love to make that a little mole. Corner of my chin, my lip. And then since it is water activated, if you want to do like stippling them, just like stipple a little bit and then diffuse them out and stamp the rest of them to make like other little freckles. That's cute too. I don't do that all the time though. But yeah, honestly, the face paint is super versatile and I really like it. So it's kind of a staple for my makeup. And I don't mind it. It's just if we're having to explain it to someone, might be funny. But I explained it fine. So the last remaining thing is eyelashes. And to tie it all together, I will be using the About Face 1994 mascara. Their volumizing mascara. Great formula. Other than this one, I really like kind of my everyday one is the Maybelline Firework. Doesn't make me have raccoon eyes, which is always a plus. The Firework one is very much more like a volumizing, and then this one is gonna be lengthening. Actually, is it volumizing or lengthening? I think it's lengthening. Anyway, it still works. It's really good. So, what I use to curl my eyelashes is the Shiseido eyelash curler. Unfortunately, really good. The price point, but it is a good product. What I'm going to use today is going to be this mascara. So let's get on to that. Just super easy. The wand is nice. Grabs everything. Just a little bit on the end. I used to be such a strict no bottom lash mascara person, but it does do the job. However, I am very strict about clumps. So just real quick, I run a clean spoolie or like an empty spoolie through my eyelashes just so the lashes aren't stuck together and there's no clumps. This one doesn't have too much clumping, which is good. The formula of the mascara. It's just sometimes my lashes get stuck together because it is still relatively new, so it's still pretty wet. And finally, this is the About Face shadow stick. I haven't used it for eyeshadow looks, but for tight lining, honestly, the best product. Prior to this, I was using the LA Girl Perfect Precision Eyeliner. Also a good product. I like its pencil. It's a little bit more geared towards tight lining waterlines because it's more precise as a pencil. This one, again, is more from the catalog pictures. It's used more primarily on the lid space, but although it could be a little bit hard to get inside there, and I know there comes a sharpener, but I don't want to waste product or like have product be wasted because I've been sharpening it. I just kind of bite the bullet. This sets down quickly, and as much as I like the LA Girl one, it would transfer to my bottom waterline and then conversely like on the bottom of my eyelids. What is this? Underneath my eyelids. And it would give me raccoon eyes. This one's good. So I know it's not its primary function, but I do love this one. And like immediate difference. And it sets quickly, so it's not gonna transfer and it's not gonna give me raccoon eyes. Which isn't always bad. Sometimes I do like the look of raccoon eyes, but just as the day goes on, not like immediately. But yeah, other than that, I do like to highlight with, I got it from the Dollar Tree, LA Colors Shimmering Loose. I know they make a pink version of this, which might bring out the pink of this that I've been wanting, but I still have a lot of this, so I'm just gonna use this up and anywhere that was highlighted and put it down. This is pretty pigmented though, and I still have the lip tint on, so I'll also show you. Well, I guess I can show you my lip combo too. She just keeps going. Sorry, I've been yapping. I don't even know what I've been yapping about. I have so much. The minutes have been racking up, but hopefully it's somewhat enjoyable. So, but for the lips, again, it's the IV drip, the NYX IV stain, lip IV glossing serum. Actually, it didn't say stain on it overtly, but it does stain. An espresso soap. Love. I'm just gonna take it off now. The stain it does have is a bit more pink than brown. Like when you wipe it off, it's brown, but it's still such a gorgeous color. For lips, anything that's like a brown is gonna be my favorite. But I actually do have another About Face product. I guess I'm not done. This is their Blurred Matte Lip Pump in Opulent. When I had first got this, I was expecting a little bit more brown, but it's more like a mahogany kind of terracotta. And just gonna place it in the middle. And it is plumping for sure. But I do like the look of a glossier lip, so I just focus that in the middle. I don't have the lip liners from About Face. Probably another product I'm gonna up next on my try list, but again, really anything brown. So this is Chestnut from Matte. Super easy to glide on. And then, this is kind of my tried and true though. This is the NYX Fat Oil Lip Drip in Status Update. But that opulence in that middle, and it's super warm. And even though it's a matte, it does feel hydrating still. But yeah, take my little clips off and the big reveal. So yeah, that's kind of my full glam look. As backwards as it might seem, I love doing my makeup like this, and it's what works for me. So try it out if you've never done underpainting before. Try it out. It seems kind of, again, very backwards, but I don't know, something about it. I feel like it gives every step of the makeup its own place to shine because it's not really interrupted by other products. In my head, I don't know. I'm having empathy for inanimate objects. But yeah, I hope this was somewhat enjoyable. If you learned something, if you didn't, I don't know. But yes, everything from About Face, highly recommend. Love the brand, love the message. Excited to see new things that they might drop. Editing Caitlin, hi. That same day I recorded this video, which was the 13th, a couple hours after, About Face announced their new setting spray. So, manifested that. And excited to hear what you guys think about them or what you think about the tutorial. If you have any other suggestions, video ideas, and the likes, let me know. Again, I didn't really go into this with a plan because if I were to strategize this, I would have never started it. So I'm just kind of making everything exist as of right now, perfecting it later. There's a lot of ideas I have, but it's just about the execution and being more comfortable with the camera. First video was in the comfort of my car. This one's in the comfort of my room. Yeah, not cringe if I don't think it's cringe. So I definitely want to do like a thrifting video too. Hopefully I get lucky with the thrift gods. But yeah, talk to y'all later. Bye.